Welcome to The Explainer. I'm so thrilled to have you here today because we're setting the stage for a really intense, microscopic breakdown of a totally fascinating ancient text. We're going to look closely at this incredibly vivid, almost cinematic moment where a human being steps completely out of the natural world and into a space that honestly defies all of our physical laws. We're examining Enoch's transformation before God's throne. So get ready, because we're going to unpack every single chilling detail of this text together. So what happens when a mortal encounters an unbearable power? I want you to just hold on to that thought for a second. Because, we often think of divine encounters in ancient literature as these really peaceful, serene moments. Lots of clouds and harps, right? But the text we're breaking down today flips that entirely on its head. This is about survival. It establishes incredibly high stakes right from the jump. I mean, what does a mortal body physically do when it steps into an overwhelming, raw, divine reality? Well, as we're about to see, the answer is intensely physical and, frankly, quite terrifying. Section 1. The Heavenly Summons. A Divine Call. Okay, let's dive into this. We're setting the scene right in the middle of the heavenly throne room. Enoch has just been brought before the ultimate authority, and instead of a gentle welcome, a terrifying sequence of events immediately begins to unfold. The source material starts with this incredibly simple yet heavy action. God summons an angel. Notice how the text doesn't waste any time here. There's no long, drawn-out preamble. This simple command immediately escalates to tension. When the ultimate power in the universe calls for someone specific to deal with a fragile human standing in the room, you just know something dramatic is about to happen.
And look at exactly who is summoned. The text says the Lord, quote, called up one of the older angels, terrible and menacing. Now, I want to emphasize those words, terrible and menacing. This isn't a little cherub. This isn't a guardian angel sent down to offer a comforting hug. No, God specifically calls upon an older entity whose very nature is intimidating. It sets a surprisingly dark, heavy tone right out of the gate. Which begs the question, why would Enoch need a menacing angel by his side?
Section 2. The Angel of Ice. A chilling presence. Let's walk through this vivid imagery together, because the author uses some incredibly specific sensory details to help us understand exactly what Enoch was standing next to. Now, what's really interesting here is the extreme freezing imagery used to describe this divine figure who's suddenly placed right beside Enoch. The angel is, quote, in appearance white as snow and his hands like ice. We just talked about the tension and the terror of the throne room, and then suddenly, bam, the text introduces this profound, piercing cold. Let's break down these visual elements clearly. We have an entity that's white as snow, with hands like ice, and possessing the appearance of great frost. The text creates this absolute sensory immersion in cold. Just imagine being Enoch in this moment for a second. You're already totally overwhelmed, and now this towering, ancient being of pure frost and ice is standing right next to you. It's this massive physical presence designed to radiate an absolute freezing temperature. And then the text hits us with this jarring, immediate physical action. And he froze my face. It's sudden, it's invasive. The angel of ice reaches out and literally freezes the face of the mortal man. As a reader trying to make sense of this encounter, this builds immense mystery. Like, why on earth was this done? Was it punishment? Was it some kind of attack by this menacing figure? Section 3. Enduring the Divine, the Elemental Clash. Here is where we explore the crucial why behind the angel's sudden, freezing action. The text provides a fascinating, deeply physical explanation for what's actually happening in this throne room. It tells us that Enoch's face was frozen because he could not endure the terror of the Lord. Now, we need to define the terror of the Lord strictly how this source defines it. It's not some abstract theological concept or a feeling of guilt. In this text, the terror of the Lord is a visceral, physical extremity. It is an unbearable heat and presence that a mortal human body simply cannot withstand. And this brilliantly illustrates the dynamic at play here. On one side, we have the crushing heat of the divine, described in the text as a stove's fire and the sun's heat. On the other side, we have the angel's hands like ice and great frost. It's an intense elemental paradox. That menacing angel wasn't attacking Enoch, he was saving him. The extreme heat of God's raw presence literally required an extreme, supernatural application of cold just for Enoch to survive standing there. He was like a cosmic heat shield. The author grounds this massive cosmic event in things we can actually understand. The text says, just as it is not possible to endure a stove's fire and the sun's heat and the frost of the air. It uses these specific natural analogies to really emphasize the sensory contrast. Just as a normal person can't go climb inside a roaring stove or touch the burning sun, a normal person cannot endure the raw presence of the Creator. The physical environment of the divine is quite literally lethal to flesh and blood. Section 4. The ultimate consequence. A metamorphosis. But surviving the heat is actually only the beginning of the story. So the crucial point here is that the frost wasn't just to keep Enoch from burning up in that specific moment. There's a secondary, permanent effect of stepping into this level of divine power. Something fundamental inside Enoch is changing, and that frost, it's serving a much larger future purpose. Listen to God's final warning to him in the text. Enoch, if thy face be not frozen here, no man will be able to behold thy face. Okay, this is the ultimate twist. Enoch isn't just surviving the heat, he's absorbing it. He's being entirely transformed by this unbearable power. Without the supernatural frost permanently locking his features, Enoch himself would radiate a power and a light so intense that it would destroy anyone who looked at him. No way, right?
So what does this all mean? It means the frost was ultimately a protection for mankind. The consequence of Enoch's transformation is so drastic, so entirely beyond the natural world, that humanity actually has to be protected from what Enoch has become. He's taken on the properties of the divine realm, and if he's ever going to return to the mortal world, his face must be shielded in ice so that his fellow human beings aren't blinded or totally consumed by the reflection of the Creator's glory.
Which leaves us with a really profound question to end on. How does an encounter with the ultimate reality change us forever? I mean, Enoch couldn't just walk into the throne room and walk back out the exact same man. Coming face to face with an overwhelming truth, an overwhelming power, alters your very nature. It makes it impossible to relate to the normal world in the exact same way ever again without some kind of barrier. It's such an incredible piece of ancient text, and it's been an absolute joy breaking it down with you today in this explainer. Keep questioning, keep analyzing, and as always, keep digging into the details.